Good evening and welcome to Talkin Sports. I am Mike Tanzini. If you listen to us on WNYL, you'll hear us breaking down stats and information, but on the TV side, we're talking sports issues. We all love postseason play, whether it's baseball, basketball, hockey, or football. We cannot get enough. The elite teams compete for a championship. What could be better? But recently, many professional sports have been changing their playoff systems, some for the better, some for worse. Tonight, my guests and I will discuss whether or not these systems need improvement or if they are A-OK. Please welcome my guests this evening, Matt Moran and Sam Watkins. Welcome, gentlemen.
Thank you, Mike.
Now, guys, before we start talking maybe what's wrong with the issue, let's kind of talk about the issue as a whole. The BCS system has been put into place for quite some time now. Every season, it seems like it's getting more and more flack. What were these guys thinking even in the beginning, creating this playoff system?
Well, the primary goal of the BCS is, of course, to have the number one team play against the number two team. And I think they've succeeded at that many years in this time that the BCS has been around. And really, the criticism is towards what teams make the BCS bowls, like the Fiesta Bowl and the Orange Bowl. But overall, the number one team versus the number two team, they've gotten it right, very much so.
They have gotten it right, but fans don't want to just see number 1 and 2. They want to see the underdogs take down 1 and 2, and the new system is going to allow for that. The old system, I'm not really sure what they were thinking. They weren't utilizing all the potential and the talent on the teams, the talented teams that weren't teams number 1 and 2. And now with this new system, I think we're going to see more players, more teams involved, and it's going to be better for the fans. It's going to be a much more enjoyable thing to watch.
Now, this playoff system will begin in 2014, so not this season, but next season, and it's a 4-team playoff system. Now, guys, is 4 teams enough? Should it be more?
You know, I actually think yes, it should be more, because really 4 teams, it doesn't do anything. It just creates a semifinal and then a final. And really, you look at, we have our BCS teams right now. There are 4 teams undefeated. It's a perfect situation. But say one of those teams loses. Then you have definitely all these teams with 1 loss, and only one of them is going to get into that Final Four semifinal. So there's still going to be criticism no matter what. But definitely, if anything, there should be at least 8, maybe even 16 if they're going to do a playoffs.
Yeah, I agree with Matt there. There should definitely be more than 4 teams. 4 teams isn't enough. It's not going to take it long enough. You're not going to see all the talent that these teams have to offer. And 4 teams, no other sports offer this 4-team system. They have much more than 4 teams, maybe 8 teams, like Matt said, taking the style of the NBA and NHL seeding. But 4 teams is a good start. They're going to expand to 6 to 8, maybe in the near future. But for now, 4 teams is better than the 2 we've been seeing.
Well, Sam, you beat me to the punch on my next question. They're starting off with 4 teams. Within the next 5 to 10 years, do we see them branching out to getting more teams? Because one thing we do have to consider that is different. A lot of people are like, well, let's just have a bunch of teams like the NCAA tournament. Well, football is not a game that you can play, 2 games in a week, 3 games in a week. You have to pretty much have at least a week off to recover, to plan for the next team, especially when we're talking high-stakes football, a national championship on the line. So, guys, where do we have to send the cap? Does it have to be at 4 teams? Is it 6 teams? Is it 8 teams? Because you have to think 8 teams means an additional 4 weeks of play to the season. The season gets done roughly around New Year's. That's almost an extra month into the season.
I think really, but you look at January, no time really used in that month for college football. I think they could do 16. I think that's about the cap, for my own opinion. If they do 16, that would be 4 weeks of college football playoffs, and that's what I think could work. Any more than 16, then we would get a little too much. But I actually think the playoffs could end up working is wait till all the bowls are done in December, and then start in January, right after New Year's, and those 4 weekends can be designated to college football playoffs.
I agree. 6 teams is the way they're going to want to go. That would make January a real football month. Can you imagine on the weeks that we're not seeing NFL playoffs, we're seeing BCS playoff games? That would absolutely be a fantastic thing for football fans. They have something to look forward to every week, and I think 6 is a perfect limit because 8, as Matt said, it's going to become too hectic. You're not going to see all the true action you want to see because you're going to be having to choose between what games you want to watch. So 6 teams is a good balance. It's better than 2, but not 8, where you're going to see a lot of too many games.
Now let's take a look at this issue from kind of a more business perspective here, kind of the money on the line here. The NFL is most popular cable television show is Monday Night Football. The most popular network show is Sunday Night Football. So do you think that if they were to do this, will this kind of step on the toes of the NFL, kind of invading in on their space, if you will? Because the NFL, predominantly after usually the second week of January, it's all NFL playoffs, and that's usually what everything's pushed on television is NFL, NFL, NFL. Do you think that the NFL would have a problem with them expanding their playoffs if it meant that they would kind of be treading on their waters, if you will.
They definitely would probably not like it. It would definitely take away viewers and popularity from the NFL, because I actually think if college football and NFL went to head-to-head and you had a playoff game for an NFL game and you had a playoff game for college football, in my own opinion, I actually think people would watch college football more than NFL. College football is becoming a huge sport. It is very fast-growing, and it's almost catching up to NFL in popularity. It's just because it's more of school. You don't get as much advertisement as the NFL does. But really, it would be very interesting to see seeing these two amazing organizations going head-to-head.
Yeah, the NFL certainly not like that. But I'm sorry for the NFL, but they don't monopoly the entire sport of football. And the NCAA wants to make money too. So they're going to try to do what they can to make the most money. And putting games in January, as Matt said, would make money and maybe make more money than the NFL. I'm not saying they're trying to overshadow the NFL, but in a way, they are overshadowing the NFL right now with all these young, high-stakes, high-energy players. And the NFL needs to look out because they may be being taken over by their own sport, basically.
Now, quickly, guys, before we take our first break here, what happens to the ranking system? Is that still implied in here? And also, what happens to the bowl system? Do we keep those, or is it just strictly playoffs, no bowls, no rankings?
Bowls are definitely going to stay in place. They make way too much money for all those advertising and sponsors, so those will definitely stay. I think the BCS rankings are okay. You definitely wonder when computers are ranking how the teams are going to decide who's making playoffs. That's a little sketchy, but really, I think overall it's the right system.
Yeah, the amount of money these people are making with the advertising for these bowls, you couldn't pry these bowl games away with them if you wanted to. They are going to stay whether we like it or not. There may be too many of them. Some people argue, but that's just the way it has to be. There's no way you're going to live in America without a marketing standpoint of it. It may be a game, but it's a business first.
Well, that's a good point there. And guys, again, with the ranking, would we be open to maybe just the top 10 teams being in the playoffs? Could that be a possibility? That could kind of bring a whole ranking system from top 25 just to top 10. What do we think about that?
You also think you look at that for like the Sprint Cup playoffs. That's how they do it. Like the top 12 make it, and then it ends up figuring out that way. So it would be interesting to see that way. We've seen top 25 rankings for many, many years. So I don't know if we'll be going away from that, but that's a very interesting point of seeing maybe we could be going down to top 10.
I think if we went down to the top 10, it will require some more formatting because we haven't seen that before, and we've been going by top 25 for some time now. So to have top 10, you're going to have to reformat the rules. We saw a selection committee with NCAA put in. They're going to now be ranking the teams instead of the computer automated system. And I think that's the way most college sports are going to need to go because computers, like Matt said, you don't really want to trust them when they're organizing your teams and deciding who's going to be playing who. It has to be more human standpoint. And I think that's where we're going.
I just want to say, when you see Northern Illinois is ranked ahead of teams like Ohio State and Baylor, that's a problem. And I think you understand the computer's overall thinking of it, but it doesn't make any sense.
Well, good point by both of you guys. From computer to council now. We will take a quick break, but when we return, we will discuss some changes and theories made about possibly adding more teams to the NCAA basketball tournament. You're watching Talkin Sports right here on WTOP 10.
Hey guys, this is my teenage friend Rachel. She's cool.
Hey. Hey, could you watch the road?
Hey, could you watch the road?
Okay. All right, well, if we die in a car crash, I want to donate my eyes to my neighbor Gary. He has a boat, and he sails all around the world. I would love to see that. I don't know if he actually needs eyes, but who would turn on a free pair of eyes, right? Who's that rich?
So, April,
Yeah?
your charger's still using energy.
That's not my charger. I don't even have a cell phone.
Millions of kids are using their energy wisely. What's your excuse?
bullshit losing.
He's in beef it.
Shocking. Is it real all the time? You just had a few drinks. This can't be happening.
Are we clear?
Clear. We're just buzzed. Just buzzed. You didn't tell us that, sir. You're right. This isn't happening. You'll be fine.
Yeah, I feel good.
Really? No, not really.
Buzz driving.
Clear.
Maybe we should stop acting like it's no big deal.
Shocking.
Welcome back to Talkin Sports. My guests tonight, Matt and Sam, have been discussing college football playoffs. Now let's shift things over to college basketball. There's been talk of adding more teams to the NCAA tournament. Right now, it's currently set at a field of 68. Guys, how do we feel about adding more teams to the tournament, and also, how many more teams we're looking to add here?
I don't think you add any teams. Really, you look at the college tournaments before the actual tournament championships, before the actual 68 field. Those really decide who gets into the field. So for those mid-major level programs, when they win their conference championship, they automatically go into the NCAA tournament. So really, I don't see any reason why you would add teams. We're already having 4 playing games in Dayton the Tuesday before the NCAA tournament starts. So I really don't see adding more days and teams that really, do they really deserve it? Yeah, the Cinderellas would love that, and of course the favorites would hate having to play more games. But overall, I just think that it's a bad move.
They call it March Madness, and it really is madness with 68 teams. But I think it's just the right level of madness. 68 teams, some may say it's too hectic, and it is a little hectic, but that's what fans want to see. They want to see as many games as little time. And obviously, as it progresses, you're not going to see as many games as teams get eliminated. But I think it's a perfect level right now, 68 teams. Every team does have a chance. We are still going to see a few upsets, but we aren't going to see all the Cinderella upsets, like Matt said, if we were to have more teams. But if we had more than 68 teams, that would completely discount the regular season when six place teams are making the tournament. There's really no reason to be competing in the regular season to win the top seed if you know you're going to get a spot either way. If you're a good team and you already know you have a spot, why not just rest the last week of the season if you already know you're going to be guaranteed to have one of the top spots?
That's a very good point. And if we do add some more teams here, every year after the selection's been made, we talk about the bubble teams. We talk about the teams that have been kind of looked over, or maybe they got the short straw, if you will. By adding more teams, do we think that this will possibly kind of end those discussions of the bubble teams deserve to be in, this team got hosed, but this team should have been in?
When it comes down to whoever gets their bubble burst, as they like to call it, not getting into the NCAA tournament, there's only 1 or 2 teams, and really that team, I know everyone says, oh, that team, everyone has a chance when you make that tournament, but really, those teams that didn't make it, there's a reason why they didn't make it. They were on the bubble, and yeah, there was a case that they could have been in the tournament. But really, overall, it's not a case that they would have gone any far in the tournament.
Yeah, 68 teams. We're talking about that bubble. The bubble is getting bigger and bigger and bigger, and any bigger, I think it's going to pop. They've talked about 96 teams maybe in the tournament, which I think would be absolutely ridiculous. I mean, how are you going to fit that into the schedule, first of all? And how are the fans and the players going to be able to keep up with that? There's no reason to have 96 teams. 68 is the perfect amount. Fans have just the amount of basketball they want to see. There's not too much here being overwhelmed by the sport.
And again, I think this is just kind of my personal opinion here, but whether you like it or not, the NCAA is a pretty big revenue thing for gambling. If I'm Vegas, I'm saying, hey, let's put 180 teams in there. Why not? The more teams, the more upsets, the the higher the stakes for these games. From a business perspective, do you think it's right to? From a fan perspective and a business perspective, should they kind of change this to gear it toward the fans? Or should they try to keep it more fair to the players and the teams that deserve to be in the tournament?
Well, see, that you can say that the fans would like that, having more teams. I actually think the fans wouldn't. It would just cause, it would literally, you would see a mid-major team versus another mid-major team in the first round. Probably the most likely the top 32 seeds would get automatically by the first round. But then you would have teams that really, this should not be tournament action. First weekend of the tournament, and we're seeing, let's say, a MAC team versus a WAC team. That is just like not something that you want to see. You want to see top teams from the top 6 conferences versus a mid-major team, and that's how we see upsets and Cinderella stories.
You want to keep the integrity of the sport somewhat, and adding more than 68 teams is going to be losing that integrity. I know they want to make money, but they have to respect the fans' opinions, respect the fans' wanting to only have 68 teams. The teams that are here are teams that deserve it. And if teams are playing that don't deserve it, I mean, I'm sorry if you're a bubble team and you're not going to make it, but play better. That's the only thing I can say. If you want to get in the tournament, play better. You shouldn't have to expand the tournament if you want to get in.
If you're in a smaller conference, a mid-major conference as they call it, and you don't come at least in your top 2 or top 3 in your conference, you should not be in discuss for the NCAA tournament. And that's the thing. If we saw more teams added, we could see a team that came in 4th place in the Mountain West Conference. And who wants to see Hawaii, a team that went 500 in the Midwest Mountain West Conference in the NCAA tournament?
Now, another thing to consider, too, is if you have some of these, if you have more games, you can have more teams that host the tournament. You could have more arenas hosting it, more revenue for the cities and whatnot. From that perspective, I guess if we kind of tie all things together here before we take our break, ultimately, is it good for the sport?
Okay, I can understand money-wise, it's perfect. It adds more money for the cities, like you said. More cities get to host more games. It's more money for College Association. But overall, for the sport, I don't think it's right. You know, there's a lot of things that make you can make more money, but they don't make any sense when you're coming to really making the right decision.
Yeah, it wouldn't be right for the sport. It wouldn't be right for the fans who have been following this tournament for all these years. They've seen it go from maybe like less than 40 teams to 68 teams, now trying to expand over 100. I mean, when is it going to stop? The fans want to see the best teams play the best teams, and we're already straying away from that, and I don't think we can stray away from that anymore.
All right, guys, well, I think we're going to take a quick break here. When we return, we will discuss some adjustments that have been made for the NBA playoffs. Stay tuned to Talkin Sports right here on WTOP 10.
It's easy to tell if you've had way too many. But what if you've had just one too many? Buzz driving is drunk driving.
Hi, I'm CNN's Rob Marciano, and you're watching WTOP 10, your television station.
My first week home was great.
They lifted me up on their shoulders, and
the first week back, people just said thank you. They just said thank you.
A new generation of veterans is coming home. Make a difference for them at welcomebackveterans.org.
This can't be happening. This can't be happening.
Of course it's not happening. Armored car. Listen, having money isn't about luck. Make your own coffee, save $1,000 a year. Feed me. Feed the pig.
Welcome back to Talkin Sports, everybody. Alongside Matt Moran, Sam Watkins, I am Mike Tanzini, and we thank you for spending your Wednesday evening with us. Now we got that out of the way, let's discuss some changes in the venue for the NBA Finals. It is now a 2-2-1-1-1 system, and if you're sitting at home being like, what the heck are these guys talking about? Basically what happens is 2 games at home, 2 games on the road, and then alternating at each venue to make the playoffs a little more fair. So for the NBA, we've actually talked about this. They should do this in baseball. So we'll start off with NBA. Was this the right move to make?
In the NBA,
yes.
It's the right move to make.
Okay.
I think overall it's a right move because we can say a team that wins their first 2 games, the home team that they split and then they end up losing, they can end up losing those 3 games on the road and end up losing the series. So overall for the NBA, because it causes more rest, it gives the players more rest, and also it just creates a better NBA Finals atmosphere.
I know Matt's going to talk about teams having rest when we get to baseball. But for MLB and NBA, it is a sport, and it should be about the team getting home field advantage. And the team that opens the series in a classic 2-3-2 does not have the home field advantage. They could split the first 4 games, then open up Game 5 on the road. That essentially becomes a best-of-3 format where they have to win 2 of 3, opening on the road, and that's not a home field advantage. The 2-2-1-1-1 allows the team to play Game 5 at their home arena, or stadium if you're talking baseball, and it is home field advantage. The team with home field advantage should have the advantage. And 2-3-2, you're not having the advantage. Now having Game 5 at your home park or arena is going to give you the advantage. And I don't care about rest. It is a sport, and you want the advantage, and it's not fair. But it is fair now. It's rectified in the NBA.
Now, the NBA and the NBA Finals and the World Series each take 7 games to take part. Now, we talked about this while we were in the control room beforehand. That Game 5, maybe you can't win on a Game 5, unless you're kind of blowing out your opponent with a 4-2 lead. But this Game 7. Major League Baseball has made it very prevalent made it very obvious that they want the All-Star game to really control, or to really matter and take control of what really happens. So, are you taking away that factor of home field advantage by having this system?
You know, you look at players, for teams that they didn't even get to represent their own American League or National League. What if a team that goes to the World Series didn't have any players representing in the All-Star game? That doesn't make any sense if the All-Star game is deciding who gets to be hosting the World Series. So really, it should definitely, the All-Star game, it's lost its ratings, it's losing its popularity, and it needs to go as a deciding factor of who hosts the World Series.
I agree that has to go as a deciding factor to who hosts the World Series, but I have seen it discussed that a team with a better record will host the World Series. Now, I think that would be more fair, but if we are trying to help the ratings for the All-Star game, is taking away their only incentive really going to help? I don't know what really can help the All-Star game at this point, but as far as fairness goes in the World Series, I think the 2-2-1-1-1 is going to be fair.
And the past few All-Star games have been very, very competitive. Low scoring, great pitching, great defense, timely hitting. Pretty much the only thing you really want to see at a baseball game.
Well, that's thing. I just think All-Star games in all 4 professional sports, it's supposed to be about fun. Just supposed to bring everyone together and really have a fun game.
Fun doesn't get ratings. Nothing's getting the ratings right now, so they need to work something out. But the home field advantage stipulation isn't working out. So we'll need to find something else.
Case in point right there with the Pro Bowl. A lot of people are disgusted with how that goes. Before we take our last break here very quickly, Major League Baseball adding an extra wild card spot. First, Matt, does this help or hurt the sport?
It makes it very exciting. Me and Sam were at that wild card game between Cleveland and Tampa Bay, and that was an exciting atmosphere. Those wild card games bring more ratings, and it really makes baseball a fun sport, really starting off in October.
It really adds the incentive to winning the division. I want to look back to 2012 when the Texas Rangers had a huge lead over the Oakland A's in the AL West before the last month of the season. The last month of the season came, here come the A's. Final game of the season, they're all tied, and Texas loses to Oakland. Oakland wins the division. Texas gets knocked out in the wild card game to Baltimore. The incentive that showed and that adds to the wild card game, incentive to win the division, is huge. Previously, if you win a wild card spot, you're automatically going to be playing a 5-game series. That wasn't really fair. I'm glad they changed it. It's going to make for some great ratings and great games in the future.
Well, guys, we're going to take one last break here. Keep it here on WTOP 10 for Talkin Sports. We'll be right back.
Danse, balance sur la cadence, ondule bien tes hanches au bal du dimanche. Danse, que la fête commence. Dans ma belle robe blanche, je suis ton chou.
You didn't give up on sex. Don't give up on birth control either. There are more methods than you think. Find yours at bedsider.org.
Hey guys, this is my teenage friend Rachel. She's cool.
Hey. Hey, could you watch the road?
Hey, could you watch the road?
Okay. All right, well, if we die in a car crash, I want to donate my eyes to my neighbor Gary. He has a boat, and he sails all around the world. I would love to see that. I don't know if he actually needs eyes, but who would turn on a free pair of eyes, right? Who's that rich?
TOP, brought to you by the letter W.
Wait, scroll up. Scroll up. Yeah. All right, guys, welcome back. Quickly before we sign off, if Major League Baseball was to go with the 2-2-1-1-1 system, would that be better off for the game?
I actually think that it wouldn't work because with baseball, it would cause rest games between 5, 6, between the games 5 and 6 and 6 and 7. And that rest really, I think it takes away the overall great atmosphere of the game going all the way 3 games in a row.
I think the 2-2-1-1-1 would work. I wouldn't really worry about the rest between games 5, 6, and 7 because you see in the NBA, they don't play every day, but you still see high ratings in the NBA Finals. That builds anticipation. I think you could build anticipation with rest between game 5, 6, and 7.
But with MLB, the whole entire regular season is played day after day after day. They don't have them. They get about 2 or 3 rest days a month. In the MLB, they're used to not having rest.
You're tied 3-3 going into game 7. You have a 1-game rest. Imagine all the build-up and the anticipation that would be between that 1 game.
It would just cause the World Series to play in November, and nobody wants that.
I want that.
I wish the Major League Baseball was all year round. Well, if you would like to join in the discussion, you can follow us on Twitter at Talkin Sports MVT using the hashtag Talkin Sports. You can like us on Facebook, facebook.com/Talkin Sports Oswego, and you can listen to us every Sunday from 4 to 6 on WNYO. That will do it for us tonight. He's Matt Moran, he's Sam Watkins, and I am Mike Tanzini. Join us in 2 weeks for our season finale of Talkin Sports on WTOP 10. Good night, Oswego.
I am an American. I am an American.
I am an American.
I am an American.
I
I
am
an American.
I am an American.
I am American.
I am an American.
I'm an American.
I'm an American.
I am American.
I am an American.
I'm an American.
I am an American.
I am an American.
I present to you Algebra 2. Foreign languages. And finally, biology. Who among you will step up to their challenge?
Me.
Yeah, I'll do it. Me too. Sign me up.
Take on the tough classes now. You need them to prepare for college.
Hi, I'm CNN's Rob Marciano, and you're watching WTOP 10, your television station.
So you can't save money? That's easy as pie. Drink from the tap. A $3 bottle of water a day times 10 years times 6% interest is over 14,000 clams. Small changes today, big bucks tomorrow. Feedthepig.org.